Hello all, Dave here, and this week I've got a question for you. Have you ever found yourself in the middle of a running shop, or been browsing online for running shoes, and you've just been totally confused by the choice? I mean, really, look, what are the differences between these shoes, for example? I'm guessing you probably want to find out more about what you're actually buying. Buying running shoes these days can be overwhelming, especially for newer runners. There's lots of terms thrown around by everyone in their industry. Drop, neutral, midsole, carbon plated. I'm hoping today I can explain a few of these terms and make them easier to understand, so you don't have to go out and make the same mistakes I have in the past, and you get the right shoes for you from the get-go. Let's start with some of the most common terms people will hear. Do you need neutral shoes or stability shoes? What's the difference? Neutral running shoes are for people who have the so-called correct running gait. This is when landing on the foot, the ankle will stay straight above the heel. Neutral shoes tend to be a bit lighter than stability shoes, and sometimes have softer midsoles, as not as much support is required to keep the foot in line. While stability shoes are designed for runners who overpronate. This is when the person lands on the foot and it rolls inwards too much. This then causes the ankle to roll inwards as well. Stability shoes normally have some firmer foam compounds on the inside of the foot. This is to counteract the inwards rolling motion. This can, however, add weight to the shoe and give it a bit of a firmer feeling. For some runners though, this can prevent injuries. If you want to learn more about how you land, you can get your running gait tested in most good local running shops. Okay, so now we know a bit more about neutral and stability shoes. The next step is to learn a bit more about the terminology of the anatomy of a running shoe, what each piece of the running shoe does. Let's start with the upper then. The upper tends to be a fabric or mesh covering that encases your foot. This includes the laces, tongue, heel counter, and overlays. This part of the shoe is responsible for keeping your foot in place within the shoe. The upper is also a big contributing factor as to how comfortable you'll find the shoe, and how well it fits you. You'll find some shoes have more of a reinforced upper with a stiffer heel counter to aid with support, while other shoes have no support in the upper for weight reduction. If you're looking to do some longer races or runs where you prioritise comfort, you probably want a shoe with a more spacious upper. While if shorter, speedier runs are your thing, you would normally benefit from a tighter fit to keep your foot in place. Now, let's visit the insole, also known as a sock liner. It's normally a thin piece of foam or material which covers the footbed, separating your foot from the midsole. Normally the insole that comes with your running shoe is quite minimal, but you can get aftermarket insoles to aid with comfort or stability if that's something you want. You can even get custom insoles that mold to your foot for the ultimate comfort. Following on, let's cover the midsole now. The midsole is a part of the shoe which is in between the insole and the outsole. Midsoles come in a variety of different foams, densities, and sizes. Midsoles are responsible for the ride of the shoe and how much cushioning, stability, or responsiveness you get. As a general rule of thumb, the higher the stack height is on the midsole, the more cushioning you will get. While if you want more speed and responsiveness, you'd go for a shoe with less height in the midsole. Although there are exceptions to this rule, and with modern shoe technology introducing carbon plates, this is constantly changing. Now you can get shoes which are cushioned and responsive, although they are a bit on the pricey side. Lastly, let's talk outsole. The outsole is the part of the shoe which makes contact with the ground. Normally it's made up of a rubber compound of some sort. The outsole is responsible for giving you the grip and confidence, and can impact your ride on the shoe as well. You can get many different types of outsole. Some are firmer for longevity, while others are thinner to reduce weight, or softer, increasing cushioning and grip. Normally outsoles and road shoes are smoother than outsoles and trail shoes, which have lugs to dig into off-road terrain. Now we touched on trail shoes, but what are the differences between road and trail shoes? Which one should you get? To answer this question, you really have to ask yourself, where are you going to be doing most of your running? If you're mostly running on hard paved surfaces, then road shoes will give you the best ride, cushioning, and responsiveness. Road shoes also tend to be a bit lighter, so that's a plus. However, if you find you live in an area where you're mostly running off-road, maybe it's a bit rocky, maybe it's muddy, you'll then find that you might need the extra grip which trail shoes will give you. This comes at a cost though, as when you do want to run on hard paved surfaces in trail shoes, then the ride can often be quite stiff and unforgiving. There is a third option, however. If you find you do a bit of both, then you can get what's called a road to trail shoe. These shoes have more cushioning than a standard trail shoe, but will give more grip than a standard road shoe. So they're great all-rounders, but not the best in any category. The final term we'll talk about today, that a lot of you might have heard thrown around in a lot of running shoe reviews, is heel to toe drop. Why is it so important? So when we're talking drop, what it essentially means is the difference between the height of the heel and the height of the forefoot. For example, the stack height in the heel of these Invincible runs is 37mm, while the forefoot is 28mm. So that comes in as a total heel to toe drop of 9mm. The typical range of drop you'll have on running shoes ranges from about 0 to 14mm, with anything above 8mm being considered a high drop shoe, and anything below 4mm being considered a low drop shoe. Drop can affect your foot strike and where the load is spread through your legs. Low drop shoes normally encourage a forefoot strike, with the load placing more stress on the ankle and lower leg, while higher drop shoes normally lead to heel striking, which has a tendency to put more load on the knees and the hips. You can use a mixture of high and low drop shoes in your running rotation, but what you must look out for is any time you're used to running in high drop shoes and want to move to low or zero drop shoes, you need to transition over slowly. This can cause injury if done too fast, as the Achilles will need to stretch over time to accommodate the lower heel to toe drop in the shoe. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of the video. I think we've covered most of the basic fundamentals. I hope it's helped a few of you, and if any of you have any questions or any suggestions for any future topics, please just ask away.